Hi students, so today we will continue with the topic which we discussed yesterday, DSS. In that the next topic will be the procedure of constructing a DSS, how to construct a DSS. So yesterday we discussed regarding various aspects of DSS, decision support system, its characteristics and all, components and classification and all we studied. The next will be constructing a DSS. So it contains totally 11 phases. So here I mentioned in 10 phases, but actually 11 phases are there. So what are these particular phases? And this can be explained along with this diagram also. So first I'll explain the diagram and I'll say. So the phase 1 will be project selection. That is choosing the project or problem to be solved. So to select a particular project or a problem which exactly the organization is facing and which you need to solve. So the very first point. The second will be selecting hardware and software. So that is this particular phase. So from project selection it will be selecting hardware and software. So once you select a particular area, then you have to select suitable DSS software and hardware components. Then phase 3 will be this one, build the database and its management. So that is data acquisition and management. You have to acquire and maintain data in the knowledge base, the required data. So to solve that particular problem, what are the data required, you will try to acquire that and how to manage effectively. Then fourth will be model subsystem acquisition, different models. So models, it can be, as I explained in the previous one, it might be a financial model, it might be a technical model, it might be a statistical model, quantitative model, like that. So which is exactly required. So that is phase 4, build the model base and its management, suitable model. Then fifth phase will be build the dialog subsystem, that is dialog subsystem and its management. So what is this dialog subsystem? So it's an user interface and you have to develop that so that the user can interact with this system easily. The next six will be knowledge management, that is building the knowledge component, build the knowledge, perform knowledge engineering, try to find out what are the knowledge required, the skills required to do that, solve that particular problem, so that you can have that knowledge base. So this is step number 6 or phase 6. Then once all this particular one done, so by combiningly you will move into the next, this one called as packaging, that is packaging. And then 8th will be combined here, testing, evaluation and improvement. Once the packaging, that is various software components of the DSS will put together for easy testing and usage, then you will test it, you will evaluate and you will try to improvement. So test the DSS with sample unit and validate it to prove that the DSS is reliable. So why you will test, why you will evaluate? So to know whether it is performing in a better way, so you test and evaluate, and if any changes you will try to improve it. Then it will be user training, so you have to provide training program for the users so that they can well verse with the DSS, they can easily use that DSS. So that is testing and evaluation. And so why this particular RMAC reverse? If any improvement, once again you will go from the starting, where exactly, whether it is a building system, you will go back, whether it is in the phase 5 or phase 2, so we'll show a reverse, so that a room for improvement. Once that is done, you will provide user training. Then once the users are provided sufficient training, once they are educated, then the phase 10 is documentation and maintenance. So documentation and maintenance, so produce documentation and maintain the DSS. Why documentation? One, based on it is for reference purpose, for future reference purpose, and to monitor and control also you require documentation. And then the last stage will be adoption. So what is this adoption? So adapt DSS to suit user needs. So according to the requirement of the users, you try to adapt the DSS, and the same thing will repeat. Once again you will try new one, project selection you will try to modify. So it's a project life cycle, so it will keep on repeating. So this is the procedure of constructing an DSS, decision support system, according to the requirement of the users. The next heading will be role of DSS in business. So these are very important one, which is differs from other types of information system. So done with MIS and all. So if you see what might be the difference, this is the main difference which you can know in decision support system. So the very first one is what if analysis. In what if analysis, an end user makes changes to variables or relationship among variables and observes the resulting changes in the value of other variable. What if, that is, if I change input by some percent, what will be the change in output? What if analysis. Example, if I increase the advertisement expense by 1 lakh, previously I am using 10 lakh, if I increase by 1 lakh, 11 lakh, then what will be the sales? So what if I change the input, what will be the output? Similar to that, it is what if analysis. Second is goal oriented. It is a process of determining the input values required to achieve a certain goal. For example, house buyers determine the monthly payment they can afford and calculate the number of such payments required to pay the desired houses. For example, if you have to buy a house, so first you will know what is your salary. Based upon that, how much you can pay for EMI. Based on that, you will take loan. So that means, so first you will try to know the input values so that you can reach that goal. That is goal oriented. Then third is risk analysis. It is an important factor which affects the business enterprise. Risk is very important because who successfully manages, then only they can get more returns. So DSS allows managers to assess the risk associated with various alternatives. So in addition, you normally know that low risk, medium risk and high risk will be there. So DSS is particularly useful in medium risk and high risk environments. Then fourth one is model building. It allows decision makers to identify the most appropriate model for solving the problems. Example, a marketing manager of a television manufacturing company is charged with the responsibility of developing a sales forecasting model. A financial manager, a financial model, like that, so that they can build a suitable model which a user requires for that particular department. Then the last will be graphical analysis, very important one. This helps managers to quickly digest large volumes of data and visualize the impacts of various courses of action. So all the data which will be shown in the form of graph, so that the large amount of data which can be easily analyzed is easily viewed and easily analyzed. So these are some of the main roles which DSS does in business, so that the overall process will be simplified. The next, advantages of DSS. So you can take up example of any information system. Almost everything will have unique advantages and their disadvantages. So as you are aware, every information system improve the personal efficiency. So because the decision makers will be provided the required information at time, so they can improve their efficiency, improve problem solving. The problem solving abilities will be improved. Facilitating communication, it will facilitate interpersonal communication in several ways, several modes, several methods. Then promoting learning or training, that is one of the other important advantages of DSS. So it uses DSS modules and all, so it will be very helpful in learning new things. Then increasing organizational control. See, one of the other different advantages of this system, some days also can control information about an individual's decision to their managers. So these are some of the advantages of decision support system. Then coming to the limitations or disadvantages of DSS. First one, limited storage capacity. Due to its small memories and limited storage capacities, DSS has definite computational constraint. It has its own limitation, mainly especially with less storage capacity, but performance is high but storage capacity will be less, but it can be overcome, but it is one of the disadvantage. Then second one is slow. It is slow compared to the speed of large mainframe supercomputers and all. This one will be very slow only, but yet reliable. Third one, limited information sharing. Most DSS are designed for individual use, but they can be designed so that several computers can be linked for limited information sharing. Mainly DSS is for individual use, so information sharing will be limited. Then fourth will be difficult. It is difficult to know interdependencies of functions provided by the system. It is difficult to keep track of consequences of DSS function usage with respect to decision scenario and integrity. So the architecture will be little bit complex, so it will be little difficult to understand. Then it requires extensive knowledge. These are the applications that require extensive knowledge of specific problem domain or technical knowledge. So the people will be using it, so they must be aware of what are the modules available and how it works and all. So they should be technically knowledgeable, then only they can make use of it. Then translation problems. Users have to deal with several databases and models with each different data models, resulting in translation problem. So different databases means that database language will be different, so every users cannot cope up easily with all those. Then confliction. Users may have to work on several decision scenarios at same time, but this one it can keep track of only one. So that is also one of the major drawback or disadvantages of DSS, confliction. So these are some of the disadvantages what we discussed. Next is application of DSS. So the very first one is intelligence report. Decision support systems are computer networks that professionals use to gather and analyze intelligence that informs decisions they make. Provide mainly in intelligence department. So for example, before branching out into a new market, managers and executives might access intelligence report that include data about competitor behaviors, economic outlook, market projections, government rules, regulation, policies, so that you will get some basic knowledge so that you can whether to decide to enter the new market or not. So intelligence reports. Second, in medical industry, medical professionals often find themselves having to quickly make medical diagnosis based on the number of different symptoms and medical histories. If in a complex situation where based on the records history of the patient, then they have to decide whether to carry a serious operation or not, when to. So for all those things. The next one is in agricultural industry. So in agriculture, professionals such as farmers, biologists and other scientists, specialists also have found application of this. The individuals might use this system to gather data related to growing season, climates, markets, policies, so that they can grow a suitable crop at suitable season. So based on the season, based on the soil quality, so weather forecasting, based on many factors, so they can decide which crop to grow in a particular season, so that the cost will be minimum and the growth will be more. Then air traffic control, one more important application. So air traffic professionals have discovered application of DSS too. They use complex computer networks to manage the number of planes traveling in certain areas. So because that too, especially each and every seconds will be counted in that. So within fraction of second the accidents can happen. So to control them effectively, they'll make use of DSS. Then in industrial meetings and all. And lastly, voting. Another important application of DSS to facilitate voting. This is common in large organization where board or committee members vote on policy, not of general election. I'm saying in an organization, each member might receive a microcomputer that he or she uses to place a vote. So voters can be anonymous or viewed by a group leader who oversees proceedings. So all these things are the certain applications of DSS. Next one, what is the difference between DSS and MIS? We already know what is in the last chapter. We have discussed completely regarding MIS. Now we have discussed actually the previous video and this video we have been discussing DSS. Then what is the main difference? In general, I will say MIS mainly helps to tackle structured problems. This will be unstructured problems. This will be for routine type of problem. This will be for new or ad hoc problems. We will say situation specific, not routine situation. Or one particular situation, a new problem will arise. To solve that one, DSS will help. So we have some basis. Based on that, they have differentiated. I'll just go through quickly. The problem type, a DSS can handle unstructured. This one only structured, as I said. Users, DSS supports individuals, small groups and the entire organization. This one, MIS supports primarily the organization. In the short run, users have less control. Here they have more control. Support, a DSS supports all aspects and phases of decision making. This is not true in MIS system. Some make automatic decision and replace the decision maker. Emphasis will be given. DSS emphasizes actual decision, whereas this one emphasizes on information only. Approach, a DSS is that provides interactive reports on computer screens. MIS typically an indirect support system that users regularly produce reports. So this one will produce routine reports. Routine. So every month it will produce sales report like that one. Whereas this one situation specific. At that time, what exactly information required, based on that it will provide reports. System. The computer equipment that provides DSS usually online. Here it will be per week, using printed reports that might be delivered to managers over once in a week, once in a month, like the predetermined preset timings. This one real time, whenever they require that time. Speed. Since DSS is flexible, can be implemented by users. MIS is response time is usually longer, it takes more time. Output. DSS reports are usually screen oriented with the ability to generate reports on a printer. MIS however typically is oriented towards printed reports and documents. So development part, so what we discussed, that one. DSS users are usually more directly involved in its development. MIS is frequently several year old. This one regularly they will keep on modifying the DSS, whereas this one they will try to use the older information system only effectively. So these are some of the main differences of MIS and DSS. So as I said, how to identify? MIS mainly helps in, so we are all very familiar with the organizational level, 3 levels of organization: strategic, tactical and operational. MIS mainly helpful in operational level, where regular activities will happen, and up to some extent of tactical, whereas DSS mainly helpful in strategic and tactical, much in tactical and up to certain extent in strategic also. So comparatively both are very useful only at their respective fields, with having their own advantages and some limitations.